Hello and welcome to Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. I'm Felicia Connor.
And I'm Tawny Ray.
And today we are talking about, this was my pick, it's one of my favorite movies, and it's The Strangers. So it's the original one, the one that was made in 2008, the original The Strangers. So I'm super, super excited about it, obviously. But before we begin, you know what? Before we begin, I'm actually going to let you know that we use adult language and we spoil the movie. Got it out of the way. It's all done. I'm not going to forget. I was like dead set on I am not forgetting to say this. Okay. Tawny, what are you drinking this evening?
I am drinking a gigantic glass. I just prepped for, like 2 glasses, so don't judge me. But I think I talked about this before. It's a soft huckleberry wine from Saint Chapelle. That same brand that I was drinking like a couple weeks ago. I don't know. But this one is like one of my favorite wines because it's real sweet.
Raspberry wine, you said?
Huckleberry.
Huckleberry.
Yeah. It's a whole Idaho thing.
Oh, so, okay. It's like I know from
brand.
Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah. They're pretty good. We actually went and picked wild huckleberries. Like I think over the summer we went up to Jade's family owns like a little cabin. And they just grow like wild. You just go out and pick them. It was good.
That's cool.
We crushed them up, made drinks out of it. It was great. What are you drinking?
Oh my God. Water. I love this cup that I found.
It is really cute,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's by Healthy Human, and it's supposedly like, I don't know, it's special. It's helps the environment.
Keeps it cool.
I don't remember. Yeah, it does all that too. But the metal, and then like there's something else about it. I don't know. And the top has metal, so plastic doesn't touch your water. I don't know. Healthy Human, if you're curious what they're all about, that's who it's by.
Neat.
But I love it. I especially love, like my other, my Felicia Connor. This branding is these colors, and I love this cup.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm still doing the healthy living, 30 days of living healthy. And so I'm just drinking water, lots of water.
Nice.
And that ends on February 2nd.
Right after
our
birthdays.
Yeah, right after our birthdays. You know what I miss the most? Bourbon. Just like my husband is so into collecting bourbon, and he'll get these bottles and be like, oh, this one's good and stuff like that. And I wish I could have a little taste.
Yeah.
Or have a cocktail with you on the show. So I'll look forward to that. And I think the other thing that I hope that I'm not, once I start introducing stuff, is dairy, but specifically cheese. I don't eat a ton of cheese, but I love charcuterie boards.
Yes, yeah.
Love. And I also like salads, some feta or some goat cheese, sprinkled on it. But I've been a really good girl. I've been good on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, nice job. It's can be difficult to do for sure. So that's awesome. And we're having a charcuterie moment right now. And I just was like, I need to get back off cheese. Like this is, I'm still having some stomach stuff. And probably part of it is just that I'm not being super great about not eating the things that I shouldn't be eating. But I'm generally pretty good at it. But I think I'm going to have to start pulling the cheese out again. Because I agree. I like a little bit of cheese on, like a sandwich or, sometimes cheese on eggs. It's not like I'm drinking milk or,
Yeah, I'm lucky. I do like almond milk. And first of all, I don't drink milk. But in my shakes and stuff, I like almond milk and coconut milk. I don't like cow milk.
I've got to give
I never did.
Yeah. I guess I liked it when I was younger, but it messes with me. But I want to give a special shout out right now. If you are trying to find a dairy alternative, get into some oat milk. Oat milk is the best.
It's creamy, right? A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it mimics the texture. Because that's the thing about oat milk and coconut milk, in my opinion, is that it's too thin. It doesn't feel like actual milk. I will straight up pour a mug of oat milk and not drink it entirely, but one of my favorite things is milk and cookies. Just straight up. Chocolate chip dunked in a little bit of milk. It's one of my favorite, sweet snacks. And now I just do that with gluten-free cookies. and oat milk, and it tastes like the exact same to me.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I think that, so I've been doing really good, right? Clean, 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 clean. All the rules, I followed them. And there's not that many. I have to say this healthy living one is pretty legit because I feel it's very doable. You know, like that Whole30, I've known people that have lost a bunch of weight and it's been fantastic. What never I couldn't get with is if I make one mistake, I have to start from day one.
Hell
so if I make one mistake, I'm out. Because if I just start over, because I made 2 mistakes. One was, this is such a dork. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I made that egg roll meal that you guys had.
Yeah.
And I used soy sauce. You're not supposed to use soy. I don't know why. It says it in the name, soy sauce. And I had aminos as well, so I could have used that, but whatever. That was one. And but that was in the very, very beginning. So I've been good. And I had, I had this Trader Joe's Chinese food mix. And because I was going to make it on my own. And so there was this Trader Joe's one and it was late and I'm like, let's just make this. I'll have it with cauliflower rice. And I got a massive headache after.
Okay.
And the 2 things that were in there, soy and then wheat gluten. Mm-hmm. But I had soy before and I was fine. So I'm deducting that maybe I have a gluten sensitivity.
Yeah. I think it's likely there's a lot of people that seem to be bothered by it, myself included. Yeah. And, I think there's definitely a difference between that and people who are straight up like celiac, who have celiac disease or whatever. Like, it's not like that for me. It's not that extreme, but it's still bad enough for me to like not want to eat it. And I feel so much better not eating a bunch of bread and pasta.
Yeah. Thinking back when one of my daughter's friends was gluten-free. And so I would have gluten-free options like buns and stuff like that. And then I would have them with her and my daughter, I noticed that it was easier on my stomach. But anyways, can we please talk about your cute ass ponytails and that sweatshirt that I absolutely love?
Oh yeah, we can. I didn't plan on it, but so my sweatshirt says more doing, less worrying, more hoping.
Hell yes. I love that. And it's so needed, that message. I love it. That's so cool. And she has these cute ass. So if you like listening, you might just want to pop over to YouTube for a second to see her cute ponytails and then pop back to the podcast.
I did some pigtails. The thing about it is I don't want to look like a child. I don't want to look like a kid. And so I put a little extra makeup on to try to balance it out, make me look like an adult.
You don't look like a kid.
Okay, good.
So cute. Okay, this is the first time ever in Two Chicks in a Horror Flick history that I actually kept note of the things outside of the movie that I watched or read.
Okay.
So I'm excited about it. Okay, so I watched the first 2 episodes of Eli Roth's History of Horror about zombies and slashers. Yeah, yes. It was really good. I liked it. It was so interesting. I don't know a lot about horror history. Most of it I learned from our horror community in Tawny. So that was cool. I really liked it. Yeah. I also watched, which you told me to, BuzzFeed. I watched the BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Okay.
I watched 2 things. I watched something that you told me was on Hulu. I watched that first. I watched those. And saw what you're talking about with, that man that was found on the beach with no tags in his clothes reminded me of the most recent Unsolved Mysteries episode with the woman found in the hotel with no tags in her clothes.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
What is happening? That makes me want to research how many dead bodies are found with the tags cut out of their clothes and what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's like a spy thing, isn't it? It's like secret, I was going to say Secret Service. That's not right. But yeah, like spies.
That's all I know what they're called. CIA?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's ours.
They're secret spy people. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Spy people across the world, I think, all cut out their tags so that you can't, like, track down
anything about them.
Yeah.
But they don't. That's so crazy.
What was that guy? What's the name of that guy again? Just so that we can say it in case people don't know.
So that specific episode was called, it was about the mysterious death of the Somerton man. But you had something else that it was called?
Yeah, I've always heard people refer to it as the Tamam Shud case. So if you look up either of those things, you should be able to find it if you want to. But
And was that the book that the little piece of paper was ripped out of?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
But that was curious. That was really good. So then today, researching this movie, I was introduced to the BuzzFeed Unsolved on YouTube. And so I love Shane and Ryan. They're my favorite. So Ryan Bergara, he is, I believe, the main host because I've seen other people host with him.
Okay.
But my favorite guy that he hosts with is Shane Madej. I hope that's how you say his name. Madej. He's funny. There's one guy that he hosts with that is just, for me, too much of a negative
And this is
Nancy.
on YouTube? On YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's BuzzFeed Unsolved on YouTube.
Okay.
And but that guy that I just mentioned, Shane, he guest appearanced in BuzzFeed on the
Hulu.
other Hulu. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're so funny. I love their chemistry. The other guy, I don't know his name, that Ryan teams up with, he was too negative for me. It was like he would not open himself up to the possibility. I enjoyed him in the sense, though, he was like coming from a scientific approach, but it was like everything. He was like, well, that's not weird at all. There's an explanation. Well, that's not weird at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of like whoa, that's weird. You know?
Admit that it's weird.
It's fun, right? So I love Shane when he's with Ryan. They're so good. They have great chemistry, and it was funny. I was cracking up, and my daughter goes, Mom, what are you watching where you're cracking up? And I'm like, this true crime story? What are you laughing about?
It is funny, though. They are very funny. I haven't watched any of the YouTube stuff. I've only watched the Hulu, so it's the same two guys over and over again, and they do have moments where it's like so funny, banter-wise. Yeah,
I love it. I love those guys. I also listened to, I'm almost done, and then I'm going to let you go. I listened to a podcast called Voices for Justice, and this was super interesting. It's a true crime podcast, but it's about Sarah Turney and Alyssa Turney. So Alyssa Turney went missing, and her dad said that she had written a letter and she had run away. And Sarah Turney, her sister, just grew up thinking her sister ran away. Well, one day, I'm not going to get too into it, and just letting you know, their mother had died. The dad was raising them both. One day, her father, Sarah Turney's father, like 19 years later, was arrested for making, he was arrested on suspicion of maybe being involved in Alyssa's death, his daughter.
Okay.
And, but then they found pipe bombs and this diary manifesto that he wanted to commit domestic terrorism. So he's put in jail. And so, and then this, the sister, Sarah, so Sarah Turney, who's the podcast host, which is Alyssa's sister, let's get it all together, Felicia. She started a podcast because the police said the best thing to do, they told us, is to get her story out in the public to keep, tips coming in. So she started a podcast, and through this podcast, new things were released, and they are heard that her father was arrested and is being charged.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't listened to the whole thing. And she does a very good job with this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, she did it. So it was very, very interesting. Wanted to tell you about that.
I'll have to check that out, because I think we've talked about this before. Sometimes I have a hard time with true crime and podcasts because it's like a lot to follow. And I listen to, if it's not hard for you, then I recommend listening to the podcast The Clearing. It is.
Oh, when I was looking up hers, I saw that pop up, and I subscribed, but I haven't listened.
It sounded kind of similar, and I liked it, but it was really hard to keep track. There's just a lot. There's a lot. It is focused on one. It's like this girl, I cannot remember her name. I'm sorry, you guys, but it's her dad, I think, who committed some murders, and maybe I think maybe he was like, he was, what's the word? He admitted to committing other murders, but they're not sure which one it is, because he might just want fame for these murders that he didn't commit. And so she's trying to clear his name while also trying to, she's not it's not lost on her that he probably did commit some of the murders. Like, she's trying to just sort it out, you know?
Yeah.
And it was great, but it just was a lot to pay attention to because there's so many cases. Like, it just was... But if you like that kind of stuff and you can pay attention to a better level than me, then I recommend that one. It's good. And it's short, right? Like, I think it's only a season or something.
It's called The Clearing, and it's with April Belascio. But that did pop up, and I saw that. Okay, I'll take a listen. So far, this Sarah Turney's done a really good job with lining it up. I was telling Tawny earlier, taking this amazing course called Live Fearlessly with Anita Morjani. And you guys, in a nutshell, she had cancer and went into a coma and passed away. And what she saw, she calls in the other realm, and then she's come back and her tumors dissolved. And when you listen to her, she's just such a genuine, honest, caring love. She's so amazing. And what she explained, for me, I mean, there's other people that might not like it, but what she explained on the other side made me not fear death, which was something I was very fearful because I want to be here with my family. I was fearful of them being in pain if I had passed away. Like, it was always something that, I couldn't think about because it would give me anxiety. It made me feel very free. And she has like these guided meditations that bring you to a near-death experience, not really, obviously, but like she tries to bring you, when you're in a meditative state, to what she had saw. And it's phenomenal. So Live Fearlessly with Anita Morjani. I know she does a lot of talks, so you don't have to be like, you don't have to buy this course necessarily. You can find her on social media, and she has some talks, so it's super, super cool. And my last two things, Chasing Evil, Paranormal Nightmare TV series. I got sucked into a few of these episodes. I am in the search for real paranormal stuff. I want real stuff.
Okay.
I just feel like it can be so faked. And this one, they use some type of a spirit box, and the spirits respond through it. If that shit's real, that's awesome. It's awesome. It must be through the radio waves, because you hear songs and you hear radio wave. I mean, you hear the radio clearly, but then there's like this talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, are they gonna? And they didn't find anything. So then they go to the next one. And they didn't find anything. So after the third one, I'm like, okay, well and then the next one, they couldn't find anything because they couldn't get access to the property. And I was like, okay, well, I need some crimes to be solved.
Something. Give me something.
You gotta give me something. But I was curious. I even Googled how does the spirit box work? Like, I'm curious. They just have this box that talks to spirits. Like, what's the explanation? I couldn't find anything, but I did get sucked into a few of those. And last but not least and that's on YouTube. I also believe it's on, I don't know, some TV like Prime or someplace I saw that they popped up there. But I watched it on YouTube. And last but not least is the Back of the Archive, which is another true crime thing on YouTube. And I'll watch more horror stuff, I promise, guys. I was just on this. Well, it all stemmed from doing research on this movie. Anyways, and she talked about feral children, which reminded me of our episode in the grunge where they were talking about these...
The grunge?
The grunge.
The grunge.
I'm sorry.
This was not mid-90s Nirvana. No.
Oh, shit. The grudge. I'm sorry. Tawny, thanks for calling that out. The grudge. I don't know why I keep wanting to say grunge. The grudge. About the little kid spirits that are like cats and they meow. But anyways, it's much more disturbing. It's children that are kept in captivity and don't develop speaking or sunlight. And stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard about this, and my
they call them feral children, which doesn't sound very nice, but.
No, but it's pretty accurate. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's this whole idea of, relating children to cats.
Yeah.
Right?
It definitely relates.
All right. Should we talk about this bad boy?
Let's talk about this bad boy.
Specifically for Josh at Horror Movie Crew. Loves it when I say that. We are watching The Strangers from 2008. It is a horror thriller. It was directed by Bryan Bertino, who also directed Mockingbird and The Monster. I have not seen either, but those are the ones I pulled that he directed.
The Monster?
The
Monster. Not Monster.
No, not Monster.
Okay.
The Monster. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The budget I didn't have, but the box office was $82.4 million. It did pretty good. I think that's good. I wouldn't mind having $82.4 million. Well, it depends, I guess, on what the
they
budget
spent.
was. Yeah.
It had to have been small, though. Like, they're in two locations. 5 people max, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 48%, and the rating average was 6.2 out of 10. The fabulous people in this movie, there's only a few, so I named them all. So I didn't write the boys down. Sorry, guys, you did a good job, the little boys, but I wrote everybody else. So Liv Tyler is Kristen McKay. Scott Speedman is James Hoyt, which is Kristen McKay's boyfriend, not fiance. Gemma Ward is Dollface, so that's the blonde one. Laura Margolis is the pinup girl, so the dark-haired mask. And then Kip Weeks is the man in the mask. And Glenn Howerton is Mike, which is James's best friend. That comes to
I really enjoy how, can I just, real quick, why did we give the girls cutesy names, but not the guy? Can we call him Potato Sack Man? Like, what the, why are we going to call them Dollface and Pinup Girl, and he's the man in the mask?
Yeah.
I'm just calling bullshit on that. That's all. That's some sexist shit. They're cute, and he's just regular.
He's a man in the mask. Well, they couldn't say the woman in the mask, because there's two.
I guess that's true.
It's almost like, I how about a non-sexist way to swing it, is they got really creative with them, and then with him, they're like, whatever, he's the dude in the mask. What about that? But they couldn't.
Well, that's still sexist, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean,
he doesn't get a cute name.
Oh, well, we can, when he's on the show, we can ask him if he cares. We'll fight that battle if he cares. If people really care about it. Okay. Okay.
It was surprising to me because I've never heard, those names. Like, it was interesting to hear that they gave them titles, you know, and his was just so lackluster. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah,
they could have been like blonde woman, brown-haired woman, man in the mask.
I like the names. I'm just like, okay, let's use a little. It's like we used up all our creativity on theirs, and like we just got to him, and it was like, whatever, man and mask.
Tawny's really pissed off about this mask, and this title. We're gonna find this. Who named him that? And we're gonna bring him on the show and go, what the actual fuck? All right, so Tawny did not do the 2 minutes of Tawny summary, which is fine. She was busy. And I was just telling her how, like, I just don't want to do it. Not that I don't want to do it. I want to do it if the listeners love it. And I do see the value in doing a whole plot summary. But it's like, I don't want to do it during the movie for sure. Because I get all engrossed in the movie. After the movie, I immediately am like, am I remembering that correctly? See, I can't even say it. Am I remembering? Am I remembering that correctly? Did that happen first? Did that happen second? Oh, let me just turn on the movie and rewind every few seconds to try to write this out. And so I cheat. Tawny does a masterful job when she does it for 2 minutes with Tawny. This is going to be Felicia reading horror.fandom.com's plot summary. horror.fandom.com. All right, here we go. It opens with 2 little boys going door to door and discovering the scene. Then a recorded 911 call of a boy screaming that he and his friend found 2 bodies lying in blood in an old vacation house. I don't think he says, in an old vacation house, there's people lying in blood. But, they're saying there's blood everywhere. I found people. Kristen McKay, which is Liv Tyler, and James Hoyt, which is Scott, and I forgot his last name already. See, you can see why it would be a struggle for me to write the plot summary at the end. Arrive at a remote house owned by James's parents after attending a friend's wedding reception. James has proposed to Kristen there, but she refused, saying she wasn't ready to make this big step. James calls his friend Mike to come pick him up in the morning. Shortly after 4 a.m., a young blonde woman whose face is obscured by low lighting knocks on the front door asking for Tamara. When told by James and Kristen she is at the wrong house, she asks if they are sure and then leaves. James leaves to get Kristen cigarettes. Kristen hears another knock at the door. The same woman has returned to ask for Tamara again, which I disagree. I think it was the other woman. I think their voices are slightly different. And I just think I noticed that this time watching it, even though I've already seen it like 15 times. Kristen refuses to open up because she's smart. In that aspect anyway. She hears strange noises, then her cell phone goes missing. As her fear grows, Kristen hears a noise from the back door, grabs a large kitchen knife, another good move, and opens the curtains to find a man wearing a sack mask staring back at her. Panicked, she screams a fabulous scream. She hides in the bedroom until James returns. She explains what just transpired, and James investigates. He finds his car has been ransacked, and the blonde woman, now wearing a doll mask, watching him from afar. His phone has had its battery stolen, and he realizes the house has been breached. Even though Kristen already told him it had been breached, he didn't believe her. The couple attempt to leave in James' car, but a third stranger wearing a pinup girl mask drives a truck into his car, totaling it and forcing them to flee. Back in the house, Kristen and James find a shotgun. They go to the door and set up an ambush. Bunker down. That's what I would do. Hoping to shoot and kill the stranger. At the same time, Mike arrives early to pick James up and realize something is wrong after seeing all of that shit everywhere. Seeing the smashed car, of course. So he goes inside to investigate, but James, mistaking him for an intruder, understandably, shoots him in the head. A devastated James then remembers an old radio transmitter in the backyard shed. He leaves the house where he encounters and attempts to shoot Pinup Girl, but the masked man intervenes and knocks him out. Kristen hears a shot and decides to make a run for the shed. There she finds the radio and tries to contact someone for help, but before she can, Pinup Girl appears and smashes the radio. Kristen rushes back to the house where she is confronted by Dollface, who is now armed with a knife. The masked man arrives with the captured James and the shotgun and incapacitates Kristen. James and Kristen are tied up in chairs in the living room. The strangers reveal themselves to the couple, not to the audience, and take turns slowly stabbing them before finally leaving. Two young Mormon boys, that's what it says here, two young Mormon boys who are distributing religious tracts come to the house, finding the totaled car and the door open. The boys head into the house and discover the bodies. Kristen, who is still alive, wakes up and screams. The reason I paused on Mormon boys is because I thought at first that they were Mormon boys because when Mormon boys goes on missions, a lot of times they wear, I think not even a lot of times, always, that's like the outfit they wear, the suit and the tie, it's like a respectable thing, and they go around. So I thought that because those boys were wearing white dress shirts and the tie. For some reason, at the end, because it doesn't really say here, at the end, we'll get more into it, but they drive and they stop and the killers actually talk to the boys. And the boy says, "Are you a sinner?" And I don't know. I just related that more to maybe a Christian sect that's really focused on sinning. You know how there's all different types of Christian churches that their focus are on different things. So that's what I kind of related it with, but then they said here specifically that it was. All right, getting right back into the movie. I was just about to ask Tawny, what do you think about this movie?
Are you nervous?
I'm very nervous because of that text you sent me. Made me nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Tawny slacked me in the middle of the night. Why the fuck is she crawling everywhere? And I was all panicked. I was like, what is she talking about? Which scene? Which scene? And like my mind is spinning like, I have to defend this. I have to defend this. my life is on the line. And then I'm like, oh shit, Tawny, doesn't she fall? Doesn't she fall and hurt her ankle? I totally panicked. And then when I watched the movie again, I was like, dude, Tawny, she face plants full speed into a ditch. Give the lady a break.
Okay, so we can get to that a little bit later. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you had already watched it again when I had sent you that message. So I thought you were ready for it. I just really enjoy this movie.
Okay, good.
Let me say that off the top. However, I think that, and this is what's surprising to me, and listen, I'll just get all my like negative things out of the way in the beginning so that we can then stop and have a whole love fest about this movie. But the only thing that I just, upon rewatching it, because I think I've only watched it the one time. I think I watched it once, and I loved it, and I bought the DVD, which is why I have the DVD, and I don't think I ever watched it again until now. And I think that the movie doesn't really have a lot of rewatch value. So, like, the second time, I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. And I'm sorry, I don't want to break your heart.
No,
I was
okay.
like, oh, I don't want to record and say, like, bad things. But, like, it's not that I dislike the movie. It's just that I think it's way more impactful the first time you watch it.
I've watched this movie 15 times. And
I know, and that's...
scream every time.
And I was thinking about that. Felicia's watched this like so many times and still seems to get something out of it. But the second time I watched it, I was just like, I mean, it wasn't like bad or anything, but I was just, because I knew what was going to happen, I just was sort of like along for the ride. And I was able to watch and make like better observations and stuff. So that's there's some really great things. I love this movie. I love a lot of this movie. It has a lot going for it. And I don't think it's, at least for me, a movie that is like super potent upon rewatching.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it totally makes sense. I wondered the second time I saw it if it would be as impactful. And I can honestly say last night I watched it again. And I was tense, and I was fully engrossed in this movie and watching it, even though I knew it was
what was going to happen.
In this time around, it was this anticipation. It was the anticipation of it. And I was sitting there watching like, oh God, that, fire alarm is going to be on the chair.
Oh yeah.
And then she
yeah.
reacts and I'm like, like I don't know. I love it. I don't know why. Like every single time.
It really has a lot of great things going for it. The acting is phenomenal. The atmosphere is great. The soundtrack and the like music and the deafening maybe that's like a weird way to... I don't actually know if that's a figure of speech. The deafening silence. Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I think so, because
it's
like this, I think it describes it like if you were deaf, like nothing.
Okay.
I think that's what it means.
Just
that's
making
what I
sure.
think.
I was like, did I just make that up? I don't think so, but yeah, I like how parts of this movie are completely dead silent. Like, which you usually don't get, I think, in a horror movie. I think it's like all jump scares. There's a couple jump scares, but it's not like over the top. And it's so scary, just the premise, and it's so real life. Those are all the things I really enjoy. But I couldn't help but be like a little bit sad after my second viewing, and I really had to dig into why. Why am I feeling this way? I know I love this movie because I literally went and bought the DVD. And I think it was just the second time I kind of knew what was going to happen. And so it was just less impactful, but that's...
Wow. I would love to dig into why, like, because I knew it was going to happen, but the anticipation of it, like as soon as it started, I was like, here we go. Kind of like a roller coaster, yes. As you're going clunk, 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 up to ride a roller coaster, even if it's one you've been on before, that I don't know. That's what I felt like, this anticipation the whole time. And then surprised still, because I probably watch it every year. It's not like I watch it all the time.
Back to back.
Yeah, exactly. There were some things I forgot. Like towards the end, I was like, how do they get her again? Like I forgot how does he get her? Or the doll face totally surprised me when Kristen was in the closet and the man in the mask is walking back and forth and then he leaves. I thought he runs back, but I was remembering that's what he does to Scott out in the forest, James out in the forest as he runs
Okay.
up. Dollface is the one that goes, rah! Like, and I screamed.
Right.
And
Yeah.
my daughter heard me. She's like, damn it, Mom! Because I scared her. But yeah, and this one, I was excited because it's the first time I saw the uncut version, actually. And so
It was the first time. Okay.
it was the first time I watched the uncut version. So I watched it so intently to see what was different. And I know what was different.
Tell me, please, because I'm like,
what was
I have
different
no idea.
is I believe in the release version, the man in the mask does not come back and take the cell phone from her. Remember at the very end, she's like crawling.
Oh, yeah.
And then he comes and takes the cell phone. I don't think that happens in the cut version. In the cut version, they kill them, right? And you see that scene, and then the boys come in, and then she goes, ah, and screams and grabs the kid's arm.
Yes.
But I don't think it's that whole thing where she drags herself, gets the phone.
Is trying to call, and he comes back. Really? That's the only difference?
I was staring so intently. I didn't recognize any other difference. But you guys, if you know the differences, let us know. Because maybe I'm wrong. Now, I was so convinced that was it. And now I'm doubting myself.
It might be. Well, because it's not like
I think it is. I think, yeah.
Yeah. It just was weird watching. I was like, what part of this? Because no part of it did I remember not seeing. You know, like I wasn't like shocked by anything. Just like you had said before we watched it, you were like, I don't really remember
what was
seeing
different.
anything. Yeah, that was wildly different. And anyway,
so that would have actually, Felicia, been good to research what was different in the freaking movie versions. I was just so sure it was that until I just said it out loud. Then I was like, oh, well, wait a second. How did she end up in the hall then? Well, no, they didn't really explain it because they were in chairs. Then it blacks out, and then the guy's on the ground too. You know, so I really think that's what it is. But let us know.
Okay,
let us know if you know. So researching this movie, there wasn't a lot of cool stuff about the movie itself besides the true crime element.
Okay.
Other than that, there wasn't like these really cool tidbits about the movie. One thing though, watching it the 15th time or the 16th time, and I don't know why I didn't really notice this before, but maybe it's because we do this podcast. And so I'm a lot more lasered in because I want to talk about the movie. The film was shot entirely with a handheld camera or a Steadicam. So every shot has some camera movement. And this time watching it, it bothered me.
Oh, interesting.
In the beginning. There were sometimes that wasn't very bad. But sometimes it was just like this. And I was like,
too much.
Shit, I don't remember this. I don't remember this moving all the time. And then it was fine. So for the majority of it, it didn't do that. But then there were some moments. But specifically, I remember in the beginning, they're talking. The camera's just doing this. And I'm like, shit, stop fucking moving. You're making me nauseous.
Relax.
But I didn't remember ever feeling that way previously.
Yeah. That makes sense, though. Because there's so much to pay attention to in the movie that it makes sense that you wouldn't notice it until you already know what's happening. And then you're opened up to this, like, extra camera movement. You're like, what's happening here? Yeah.
I think I really love this movie as well because they do a lot of stuff that feels very real.
Yes.
Well, first of all, they started off saying it's real. So that's already got you all like, if this really happened, holy shit, that's a whole new level, right?
Yeah.
And then it's all things that, besides reactions and fears, someone coming to the door at night. If we're at home and someone knocks on our door, we all go, who's that? And it could be freaking noon, but let alone night, right? When you're scared, what do? You get a butcher knife out of the kitchen.
Yes.
That's what you do. And that's what she does. The bunkering down really made my heart sing because
Loved it.
And then, you think just stay bunkered down, but he literally just shot his friend in the head. Like you could see how he might be like, shit, I just did that. Okay, I'm still going to wait here. you could see how he probably lost his mind a little bit, you know?
Yes.
So it made sense. And then the fact, like I mentioned earlier, like the Night Stalker, these people just want to kill. Like, you know you are screwed unless you kill them, because they are obviously playing with you and they just want to kill you.
Yeah.
And being secluded. And then anything I would think of doing myself, for the most part, gets screwed over by this movie. So then it makes you even feel more kind of scared and hopeless. Oh, I would do this. Nope, you won't, because your phone's in the fire. Or I would run to the shed too. Well, you just got fucked by that by that ditch. Now what do? You know what I mean? So I think all of those elements, and just how, and I also, and then I'll just stop and we, let you talk. I also really loved the acting.
Yes.
She looked terrified. It was very, very real. Even him, like when he was pissing me off when he wasn't believing her, you can see in his face, like, I think he did, and he was worried that he did.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. No, I'm just agreeing with you. Like, there is a level of, like, denial that kicks in. Oh, that's not happening. Everything's fine. Even if he did believe her on a, deeper level, he doesn't... You don't want to believe the fact that you're under assault out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yes.
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 Sorry, keep going.
The one thing with her that I have noted here is, and this is just something different that I would have done, when she called him on the regular phone, and she was like, that girl, she came back, and she asked for, Tamara again. And she goes, no, I heard her. And then was like not really saying anything else. Like, there was other stuff that happened with, like, noises and things like that. Then when he got home, she was like, they're out there. And he's like, what, that girl? And she's like, oh, they're out there. How about, oh my God, the fire alarm, it was on the chair and it was on the ground. And then not just like they're out there, I opened the curtain and the dude was there with a sack and he was like, and I screamed. Like, I would be word vomit of terror. But she kind of just gave him bits and pieces, like, they're out there. He was at the back door. No, how about they were like, sounded like they were scraping the sides of the walls, like that.
Yeah.
I was like, tell him what happened. So you could raise his level of concern. There wasn't just a chick asking for Tamara. There's a whole lot of other shit going on.
Totally. And that's, I want to let you know that even though I have said some negative things, and I will say some more negative things probably, but like, I want you to know that I defended this movie to Jade, because Jade was like, I fucking hate that movie. He was like,
no.
Jade, I think he went to go see it in theaters, and he was like, I remember leaving thinking, oh, that was like the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, people made the dumbest mistakes, and I was like, no. I was like, listen, they make really good decisions for the most part. I think there's like a handful of decisions that don't make sense, but like a lot of the decisions they make, I think, make total sense, and they're blocked at a lot of moments that they try to do what you would think to do next, like going for the car, right? The car's totaled. So
locking
it's like
the doors. They do lock the doors, and then however they get
doesn't
in,
matter.
like, yeah.
So I just want you to know that I defended this movie
Thank
against.
You. I don't think they made a ton of bad decisions. It's not like some of the movies I see, like the typical horror joke people make: run upstairs, or like.
Right.
Make sure you take off your shirt first and then run upstairs, or whatever the thing is, right? But I thought they made, there is, a handful, but there were some really, like, what do you do? Like when the guy started pounding on the door, so they blocked it with the piano, that did slow them down so that they could get away. They looked for the gun. I don't know. I liked it. She tried to call. I mean, what do you do? If you're if you're in the house and your phone is gone and your boyfriend is gone and he has the car, what are you going to do? Just run outside?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I think, in my opinion, all of the decisions up until he shoots his brother are really good decisions.
Yeah.
And then that's where we start to take a little bit of a dive. And to your point, like, it makes sense that he kind of loses it a little bit. And I think another good point is he before that moment knew that his brother was coming back. He knew that he had called his brother, and at some point his brother was going to show up. Somebody knew where they were, and he was going to come for him. And as soon as he shot his brother, he was like, well, shit, no one else knows we're out here. right? How many days is it going to be until someone reports us missing and comes and finds us at this house? I think that's another really great reason why you wouldn't stay hunkered. However, in counterpoint to that, it was 5 a.m. by this point? We're at 5 a.m., probably.
No.
It was 4 a.m. when it started, remember?
Oh, yeah, you're
They
right.
get to the cabin, they're like, oh, it's 4 a.m. It's probably been an hour.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm
for
being
sure.
generous. Like, it's probably more time than that, right? For him to go to a store and come back, it can't be that far away, right? To get cigarettes and come back. So it's probably like 5 a.m. All they'd need to do is hunker down for another hour. And then at least they're able to see.
Leave. Oh, sorry.
You can see. There's the sun. If you're going to make a run for it out in the shed, at least there's daylight, like.
Yeah.
And so
how long are these people literally going to be hanging out at your house to try to kill you once the sun comes up as well?
For sure. Yeah, and they could hang out for a very long time, but at least you've got some sort of tactical advantage, right?
Yeah. And it's secluded, but it's obviously not that secluded if two little boys are not even riding their bikes, they're walking their bikes house to house.
Knocking on doors.
Yeah. I mean, it's spread out enough, but the boys are walking through the neighborhood. So, I mean, there's...
Yeah. So this is where I think the decisions start to go south, right? I think all up until that moment, to your point, yes, she should have probably, said more on the phone. Even just like tell somebody else what's going on, right? So that call the cops.
Before he leaves the store, call the cops on his way home.
Bring somebody else here. Yeah, like something's going on. Yeah, but still, even the fact that he didn't bother me until that moment.
Yeah, when he is like, I'm going outside to the radio. So first when he's like, I'm going outside, I was like, no. And she's like, no. And then he's like, no, there's a radio out there. Okay, but then he goes to the truck. And he's just like looking around the truck, their truck.
Oh,
remember?
yeah.
And he's not even looking around him. He's
no,
just like
I know.
underneath the seats and...
Both times in the car, he's like not paying any attention around. I was like, this was making me nervous. Like, no, you gotta do a quick sweep. You gotta sweep quick, look. Sweep quick, look. I don't know.
And even when he was walking to his car the first time and he noticed it was destroyed, I get it. He thought his phone was in there. So he wanted to call. But do you really think your phone is in there still? Like, these people, but I don't know. I guess he had to try. But then, and then she tries to book it for, so I almost feel like, I mean, I don't even know. I was trying to think of what I would do. Like, even if you were all alone, if you run out to the street and just book it down the street screaming. But how far do you really get? Because the street to the house was far. Like, before one of those people tackles you down, you know what I mean? Like the only way is like maybe if one of you sat with the shotgun and the other one ran. So if anybody tried to tackle you, shot, because there's no way you could run with a shotgun and shoot people either. You know what I mean? So I was just really trying to figure out how would you get out of this? But see, that's the good. Is I was like, oh my God, how would you get out of this? Because they really set it up to where it was hopeless.
As much criticism as I have about like the choices that were made, I actually don't know what I would do differently. Like I don't have like a good solution. So I think that makes for a really good story in the end, right?
Yeah.
Because I cannot tell you a better thing to do. Maybe that's it. Maybe you have, one person with a shotgun cover, the other person as they run, just to, hit anybody who tried to run up on them. But like this is where like when he goes and runs for the shed and he takes the gun with him, don't take the fucking gun with you. If you're gonna, like, straight up martyr yourself, like, I might get totally nabbed by these people and murdered, don't take the gun with you, leave the gun with her. Or have her run and go get it if she can't work the gun, right? Like, there was just, like, a lot of different options, I think. Yeah. And so he gets, grabbed while he's going out there, and then she makes a run for it, which I think wasn't a bad plan. But the first time I watched this movie, for some reason I left feeling like they had booby-trapped. Like they had like strung up a wire or something that like seriously injured her. And that's why I sent you that message. I was like, why the fuck is she crawling everywhere? Because on one hand, I could kind of see crawling to try to be like low profile so that they couldn't see you, but it didn't seem like she was doing that because she had her feet up in the air. She was crawling around on her knees with her feet propped up in the air.
Her foot was up in the air,
Both of them. And I was like, why are you doing that? Like, if I'm going to crawl and I'm trying to not be seen, I'm going to be like army crawling.
Yeah, but she hurt herself.
Yeah, but like, did she hurt herself that bad?
Fuck yeah.
But
she was fully, no,
but listen.
I just watched it, dude. She was fully sprinting and then whap, she is like down and she crawls out of it. She's kind of like, there's kind of a, not like a ditch, like a grave, but there's like a
dip.
A dip, because she kind of crawls out of it and she has her foot up. Dude, she whacks that thing hard.
But then she, okay, but also, first of all, let me just say, if you've got adrenaline, you're about to fucking die, you think, by the hand of these people. I just choose to believe that you're gonna overcome some of that.
Maybe.
Secondly,
you haven't been hunted by a killer.
That's true. Well, that's true. But then she gets in the shed and gets back in the house, and then all of a sudden, she's just walking on both feet. After. It's she like
limps around on it though.
She does at first, but then she's like cool, walking on both feet. And I'm like, okay, if you were going to do this, do it then. You know, like as a filmmaker, if you were going to choose to have her like walk on the feet, because it happens pretty quick. She was limping when she gets inside the house. She's going on one foot, and then she like puts down the other foot and walks totally normal. I was like, okay, I needed this like 10 minutes ago. Because I don't know, even if my foot was crushed, I bet it would hurt like hell, but I bet your survival instincts would, like, supersede your foot, and you'd just be like, you know, something. So that was driving me crazy, and if you're gonna run out to the shed, put on some fucking shoes. I don't know.
That did bother me. There is like one thing I always think of is... like if I'm in my pajamas, where are my shoes? Where's a pair of pants? You know what I mean? Like, yes. You want to, I mean, she was getting dressed. Why on earth wouldn't you? That seems like one of the first things you would do to make sure. I have a pair of sneakers right there, my Converse right there by my doorway. It seems like if you were going to get prepared to protect yourself, you would have shoes on. Why doesn't she have fucking shoes on?
To do anything. If you were going to get prepared for anything that could happen in that moment, you should put on shoes because you might have to go outside. Yeah.
Shoes.
And it happened, whatever happened in the ditch and hitting the thing, it all happened so quick that it wasn't enough for me as a viewer to understand what was happening. Like, if she, like, straight up severed her foot off, I'd be like, okay, I get it, you know? But it didn't happen like that, and we didn't get a sense of what actually happened to her foot or leg. And so that's true. I was just like, why are you acting this way? If it had been a little bit more clear what happened and it was like ultra painful or something, like maybe I could have gotten there. But that part bothered me.
I get, you didn't really see what happened to her leg. For me, I did, based on her going, and doing this, I was like, oh shit, she hurt her foot. That fucking sucks. Mm-hmm. So I did get that, but I understand what you're saying as well. I do.
Also, I hate feet, you know, so I don't want to see any, like, naked-ass feet. Put some socks on those feet.
She needs some shoes on, though, for sure.
Some shoes. That was the worst decision. Not putting on shoes.
Not putting on shoes, for sure. And the gun. That's what I wanted to say. The gun situation. So I agree, but I also can see it the other way. Yeah. So it, like, for me, it wasn't enough for me to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Totally.
Because at first I was like, don't take the gun. I said that. And then I was like, well, shit, you wouldn't want him, because I was thinking of like my husband, wouldn't want him to go out there and not be able to protect himself.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to stay in here either. So maybe I would go out with him, even if he's like, don't come out here with me. Maybe I would do that anyways, would just follow him. Because I wouldn't want to be without the gun, because then what does she do? But I wouldn't want to send him out there without the gun either.
Well, and it's like, to fully play this out, what else could you send him out there with, like a knife or something? What if he falls on it? That could be bad. Like, you don't want that.
Like, everyone should have bunkered down until the morning.
Yeah,
they should have waited. Happened. I mean, it was only a few hours away from morning. Yeah. And these killers are not going to, they're not going to hang around until noon. Again, this wasn't like a cabin really in the middle of nowhere. There were homes When they're driving, you see mailboxes. They were spread apart for sure, but they're still fucking people. And
yeah.
obviously enough for the missionaries to go and hand out pamphlets, right?
Right, yeah.
They're not like, hey, kids, at the end of this road, there's a house. And we would like them to have a pamphlet on finding the Lord. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to defend this a little bit more too, there's not really a lot of time. Like they're just like making decisions. They're like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do? And he's even just like, oh, I'm gonna go get this radio. And she's like, well, hold on, I don't know if I want you to go out there. Like, I definitely felt for her as a character. I was constantly like, this is maybe not 100% how I'd be, but I would be like this to some degree. I'd be like, well, hold on. I'd be like trying to figure out what our next best play is. And so I'd be like, well, I don't know. Should you go out there? What about the radio? Maybe you should just stay here. Please don't go. Please don't go out there. They don't have time to talk out who should have the gun and why and what should I do. He's just doing it, which is frustrating. I'd be pissed.
Yeah, he definitely stepped into, and not saying this in a negative way, but the macho role of I'm going to handle this. You just sit here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he was terrified. So, and I know that I'm going to tell my husband, we are bunkering down.
Yes.
So don't even pull any bullshit. Unless it's a really, really good reason, and then we'll talk it out. But don't be any of this. This is what I'm doing. Sit tight. Because this is both of our lives. So I don't want to hear any of that noise. He did a lot of that, right? He placated her a lot, but again, I was trying to think, he doesn't want to believe it. And actually, I take back what I said. I don't even know if he would have called the police like you were mentioning. That would have been a good thing. But when she called him on the phone, the only thing that happened was that girl came back and asked for Tamara. That's it. The guy wasn't at that. So, I mean, I guess if you were like, hey, there's this girl walking around house to house, but would we really have called the police on that?
True. I forgot. I was mixing up the
So was I when I first...
Yeah. The sequence of events. I was thinking more had happened when he had talked.
When he got home, all that other shit happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good point.
I had messed it up because that's what I was saying on the phone, but thinking back, that's all that had happened is that girl asked for Tamara again.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of bad decisions, I really didn't like how the brother shows up and literally does not say a fucking thing as he walks through the house. Wouldn't you say something? Wouldn't you be like, James? That's his name, right? James?
James and Kristen, yeah.
James? Kristen? Hello? Anything.
So I wondered about that too. So he does do that as he enters the house. Like as he's at the front door. He says, James, Kristen. Then when he's in the house, so I was trying to think the same. I was like, call out to them. I know when he's
that record's going.
Yeah,
right?
When he's outside, the music is probably too loud for them to hear. But once he's in the house, then the state of the house.
Right.
Would you want to quietly step through the house? Because if there's some fucking burglar or somebody in there, do you want to alert them? I don't know. I'm not saying I was trying to think of why he might not, and really was this just so stupid, because why didn't he scream out? Because I felt the same way. And then I thought, well, I don't know, maybe if I was nervous that some fucking really bad shit happened and the person was still in the house, I would want to have the upper hand and not alert them that I was in there.
That's true. I think that's a good counterpoint. And I don't remember him saying it as he is walking in. Like, I just...
At the front door he does. But then he hears something around the side, and then he goes around the back and goes in the back. Right. I almost feel, I guess there are people that walk in. If I saw an axed down front door and somebody had just crushed my windshield and disappeared.
Yes.
Wouldn't I just call the police?
For sure. You just back out of there. Because also... if something bad had happened inside that house, I don't want to see it. You better believe I'm calling the cops just to come and check out whatever happened. I don't need to see it with my own eyes. That would be my biggest fear, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe second to, I'm going to get attacked by whoever did this to the house, right? That would be number one concern. Number two is, what if they attacked my family member that's in this house and potentially killed them? I don't know. Maybe that's awful, but I just would be terrified to come across them.
If they were hurt and you found them and you were able to rescue them, how are you going to rescue them? By calling the police.
You need to call the cops anyway.
Medic, unless you are a medic.
I mean, yeah.
But you're gonna call the police. So why not that? Your window is smashed. You start to approach and you notice all this chaos outside. Maybe you go to the front door and call, but they don't answer. Do you just fucking book it back to your car where you left your phone? Because remember, he was on the phone and then he dropped it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Why would you go in there and walk around like that? And what are you hoping to do? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably, in my opinion, maybe aside from the ending, the worst part of this entire movie. The fact that he shoots his brother. And I knew as soon as we started the movie, I mean, like, before we even started the movie, that's what I remember the most. I remember, like, very key points of the movie. I remember them getting to the house, the scene where she's in the kitchen, and I'm going to call him Sack Man. I'm going to give him my own name, Sack Man.
I love it.
He comes in to the, hallway in the background, and she doesn't notice him. It's a very quiet, tense scene, lasts forever. I love that. It's probably one of my favorite parts of this movie. And then I remember him shooting. Well, I didn't remember who shot who. As I was watching the movie, I was like, I couldn't remember. I thought, well, shit, does she get the gun and shoot him when he comes back from getting cigarettes? Like, I couldn't place. I know somebody got shot that I didn't want to be shot, but I couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah.
And then the ending. Like, I do remember kind of points what happens in between. Like, she runs out to the, she tries to run, doesn't make it. In my head, that equated to, like, it being booby-trapped, right? The car is smashed, and then they stab him to death. So those are, like, the main key points that I remember in this movie, which is probably why I didn't enjoy as much watching it a second time, because it was seared into my memory the first time I watched it. Like, it was so potent the first time that I remembered, like, a large amount of the information. And so, where was I going with this? Him being shot is just such a pivotal, awful, terrible part of this movie. It sucks. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm just like, oh God, I know it's coming. Oh God, somebody's going to get shot, but I don't want to be shot. It's going to be awful. And I wondered if the close-up shot of his face with the hole in his head, I wondered if that was part of the unrated.
Yeah, because I didn't really remember that, but guess what? I'm really glad you said that, because I pulled it up.
Okay.
Because it was really not sitting well with me that I didn't have that information.
Okay.
The unrated version is over 2 minutes longer than the theatrical version, which includes one additional scene of Kristen, after being stabbed and left for dead, is crawling on the floor of the house to reach Mike's cell phone ringing, only to have it ring before she can answer it.
Shit.
Stop ringing before she can answer it.
Okay. That's not a big difference. Huh. Okay.
I'd wondered that too, though, because I don't remember seeing his face like that so close, but...
I don't either. But I also wasn't super shocked when I saw it, so I was like, maybe it wasn't there? I don't know.
I loved that scene where she's in the kitchen and you first see Sackman in the hallway from the darkness, and then he's not there when she turns around. I just love that shit.
Yeah, like I said, in my opinion, it's probably the highlight of this movie. It's the one scene that sticks, well, yeah, no, I would say that. I would say it's the one scene that sticks out to me above all other scenes in this movie, because it doesn't rely on any jump scares. It has no music to accompany it. It is just straight up real life horror creepy.
Yeah. It's your worst nightmare that somebody's breached your house. So that's another thing.
And you don't know.
Of the house. We've talked about that. Yeah, breaching of the house and you don't know. That's another. I can't even believe I didn't mention that when I was talking about why this movie scares me so much. It's all of those elements, including someone gets into the house.
Yes.
And how you find out they're in the house because things are not right. Oh my God. Even thinking about it scares me, and I just watched the movie. I do have a question about the ending, though. I liked the ending with when they killed them. and I like the line, because you were home, because it's terrifying to think that somebody would just kill for no motive, just kill to kill, right?
Yes.
And I like how they were crying and how they realized they were going to die, and she said, I love you. It was heart-wrenching.
Yes.
And then they took off their masks, and then they killed them, and I like that we don't see who they are. I like that element as well. I liked all of that. I did not like the uncut part of her crawling to the phone. Like, I was like, that's not needed. So, but they cut that. I didn't like that she lived, because she doesn't live. So in the beginning, they say that these two people were murdered. So it was almost just like a gratuitous jump scare, right?
Yeah,
They just wanted to give you a jump scare. I don't think it was needed. I think it would have been better if we just ended where we started, with the kids had discovered the scene and it just was done, maybe in like flashes like they were doing. But that whole thing, I don't know. I thought that was not necessary.
I agree. I don't like those like last minute jump scares. Like they're one of my least favorite things, actually. The last couple seconds of a movie where they really get you. It's like fucking boo. So I'm with you. I think I liked, it's just insult to injury. Like, this is, when I think of a word that describes this movie, it's hopeless. Hopeless. There is no hope of anybody surviving this situation. And we fucking get that. Like, fucking message received. We're in for that. And then we're gonna just add a little bit of more, like, salt into the wound for her trying to crawl to the phone and doesn't get it. Like, we didn't need it. It was over the top.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things, though, that I was really curious about, and I was like talking to myself about it, was at the end. And I did watch the trailer for The Strangers Pray at Night, and I haven't seen it, guys. It looks ridiculous, but I've not seen it, so it could be phenomenal. I would really love more of a backstory of these characters, the killers, because when they were driving, it could just be seen like, because she asks for one of those pamphlets and he says, are you a sinner? And she says, sometimes. And then the pinup girl says, it gets easier next time.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't get a feeling that she was sorry for what she did. That whole scene, I felt like they almost wanted to be seen. There's no one around. They could have totally driven away and probably not one person have spotted them. Now add these children walking. They could have driven by, and most of the kids would remember. The only thing I remember is a truck drove by. Who was in the truck? I don't know. I think a guy. You wouldn't know, right? Yeah. They stop directly in front of the boys. They stare at the boys. The boys are staring at them. Both girls get out. The girl walks around. She stares at him. She asks for one of them. Are you a sinner? They have a conversation. They stare at each other. Yeah. She gets back in the car and they drive away. It was almost like they were trying to place themselves there. It was almost like part of their game. To me, that's what it seemed like. I don't know if that was the intention. I like that better than this girl is somehow kind of feeling bad now. Fuck that. No, yeah. She's not feeling bad.
No, I agree with you. It is very it's very like tongue-in-cheek almost in the like from their perspective as the killers. And I haven't seen the sequel either, and I was curious after rewatching the first one. I was like, I wonder how the sequel is, and if they get into more of these killers and what they're about and what they're doing.
I mean, I don't know, but from the trailer it didn't look like it.
Yeah. Okay. So from the first movie though, like what I want to say is the only thing that I think could have made this movie better is had we had just something more, like a little bit more either on the killer's side or on their side. And I think it makes sense that we don't have more on the killer's side, because part of what makes them so scary is that we don't know anything about them and that it's totally fucking random.
Yeah.
And exactly the line, why are you doing this to us? Because you were home. I think that's the like ultimate scary part of this movie. So I actually wouldn't want more on them. Yeah. What I wanted more of was the couple, right? Kirsten and James. Mm. Right? I think I keep mixing up his name with the
Kristen
actors.
And James. No, you got it. Yeah.
Okay. Kristen and James. I wanted more on them. And actually, Felicia, did you end up watching the deleted scenes?
No, because I rented it. And they
Okay.
didn't have that.
Okay, so there was only two. There were only two deleted scenes, and one was a scene at the. I'm gathering that it's a wedding they were at, right?
Yeah, they were at someone else's wedding, yeah.
And he's drinking at the bar. I'll just give you a quick summary. The first one was he's drinking at the bar, and he seems to be sort of hyping himself up to, like, propose to her. And then he, like, stops drinking, goes back to her where she's sitting at the table with them, and she's like, dance with me. And he's like, no, I want to, let's go. Let's get out of here. Because he's ready to propose. And she's like, come on, just dance. It'll be fun. And he, both of them have like a one-track mind in this moment. She wants to dance. He wants to just leave and go and propose to her. So he carries her out. And this is why in the movie, I had a question of, because he carries her out into the parking lot and she's like, I just wanted to dance with you. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why, because she's trying to get him to dance. And they get out to the car, and he pulls out the ring box, and she like looks down at it, and like looks back up at him, and that's when like the awkwardness happens. It doesn't go all the way, like I don't think it shows you the entire conversation, but you get enough of that scene to see like, oh, this is not the way that he expected it to go. Yeah. And then the second deleted scene is like they're holed up in the bathroom, I think, after they're being attacked, and they're talking about this scene. So the second deleted scene is about the first deleted scene, right? And God, I hope I don't butcher the shit out of this. But she's like, I know that you think that I will never understand what it means to be in your shoes and be told no, but you will never know what it was like to watch your face and watch your face change in the moment that it did. And so they have this moment of reckoning in the bathroom when they're like fighting for their lives. And I have chills right now thinking about this scene. It was so good. I actually wish they had left in these two deleted scenes. It would have added, 5 minutes to the movie? It really didn't take anything away, in my opinion. I don't know why they would have taken them out, because I so craved something extra. Mm. And if it wasn't going to be in the killer's realm, I wanted it to be in their realm. And I was hanging on every word that they were saying in these deleted scenes because I wanted to know more about them and their characters and what had happened, what they were like. And there was just so much there, I think, worth exploring. So that's what I felt like I was missing.
That's good.
I wish they had kept it in, but.
That's really good. Yeah, I like that. That would have been really nice. I did note, I liked how. So I would have liked that too. I did like how you were able, by the looks on their faces, and I think that's just more of the good acting, like a thank you to good acting, that they were able to convey exactly what was going on without barely saying anything. Like when he shows her the ring box, just her face, you knew that wasn't going well. Or just the whole thing, you understood what was going on, where they had very few words. Not that I would have loved to know more about who they were too. That's just a nod to thank you for that good acting, that they were able to express a lot of that through their face without so many words. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job of that. And in comparison to The Grudge, right, which we just watched and we both loved, The Grudge.
Thanks for reminding me. I'm just kidding.
There's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of character development. You really don't know anything about these characters. Even they could have even probably gotten some of that across in the facial expressions, but they didn't, right? I think you look at something like The Strangers and it's like fucking level 10 emoting, right?
Yes.
Maybe not level 10, but a level 8. It's high
really
up there.
Good. Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. There's a lot happening without words, and I do really appreciate about that.
What we just said about James.
Yes.
He was doing that kind of I'll take care of it, but you could tell in his eyes that he was scared that this might be true, and he just didn't want it to be true,
Yes.
I really appreciated that.
There's so much conveyed without words.
Yes.
And that is one of the things that I wrote down that I really love about this movie.
Let me tell you that during filming, in order to get an actual reaction from Liv, director Bryan Bertino would tell her where to expect a loud bang, but then would have the noise come from a completely different direction.
Interesting.
Just a little tidbit. Also, Kurt Russell mentioned on the Late Night Show, the Late Night Show with James Corden in 2017, that this movie always scares him. So Kurt Russell, I agree. It always scares me too. The filmmakers tried to design the house. This is just talking about like the characters and the character building. The filmmakers tried to design the house so that your brother could have lived there, you could have grown up there, just like a real homey, in order to make the audience feel more attached to the film, like this could be you that this is happening to.
I felt that. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah, it wasn't, you didn't get that feeling like where, just, this is the first thing that popped in my head, Friends, that TV show.
Yes.
There's all these people with barely any jobs, if any jobs at all, living in this multi-million-dollar, like, New York, right? They're in New York. Yeah. New York freaking, dude, it's massive. It throws you off because you know New York is expensive. You don't even have to know all about how expensive it is to know New York is expensive. This place is freaking killer. And these 5 people going around, like one works at a coffee shop. How the fuck? It throws you off a little bit. Everyone loves Friends. Like, I mean, a lot of people love Friends. So it obviously didn't throw people off that much. But there were a lot of comments made about that. Like, how the hell can these people afford it? You're not thrown off that way at all. It feels like a family cabin.
Yes.
You can imagine his parents at home, warm in bed, know that he's going to be staying at the cabin and proposing to Kristen, and they're so happy. And, you know, like, you can just envision that whole thing.
Yes, I did think, this set design, like all the furniture, all the props, all the paintings, all the knickknacks, everything is designed in such a way that it feels like it's such a lived-in house. Not, nobody's living there like all the time, it seems like, but it is like a cabin.
Yeah.
Type
it's been in the family for a long time.
Yes.
They go there a lot. He was very comfortable there.
Yes. I liked that.
Liv Tyler suffered from tonsillitis during shooting, so maybe that's why she didn't word vomit what was going on. Maybe that's why she was a woman of so few words, because it literally hurt her to talk.
That's fair.
That's fair. I've had that. It hurts. Also, this is just random, but the song Mama Tried, which is heard several times during the film, is a 1968 hit from Merle Haggard and the Strangers.
Oh.
You know the houses that are shown in the opening credits? Each resemble a famous house from various classic horror movies, such as Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and Amityville Horror.
Oh, shit. I'm going to have to go back and look.
They say the axe through the door was a nod to The Shining.
The Shining, yep.
Mm-hmm. One other thing, and then I'm going to talk about, I think what is truly interesting is the true crime aspect of it. Because some of these other things, like it was almost going to be called The Faces, and Steven Tyler, which is Liv Tyler's dad, Aerosmith. When he was a kid, he played in a band called The Strangers. You know, it's stuff like that. But I do want to say one thing, and this might just be me, but I do want to say 2 more things. According to the director, the finale in the original script had a lot more dialogue back and forth between the killers and them, but they cut it all out in order to keep the killers more mysterious and eerie, which I think was really good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want too much given away. And this is just something, maybe somebody would be interested in this. Liv Tyler would have to run laps and do jumping jacks and other physical activities to get out of breath. So then when she was doing these scary scenes, it would simulate panic because she was out of breath.
Oh, wow.
But what I wanted to mention, which gave me cold chills, and I can't believe I didn't even notice it at all until this time I watched it, was when she says, "Is Tamara home?" And they're like, "No, she's not." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah." And it's quiet. And then she goes, "See you later," and walked away.
Yeah.
So when I saw it before all those other times, I just thought that's what, all right, see you later. Like, I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
This time it stuck with me. Oh, see you later. Yes, that was great.
I noticed it this time too, but I don't think I noticed it the first time. But I was like, oh, fuck. Because the second time, oh, they're coming back. Right?
Yeah, it was good. I really liked that. All right, guys, into the true crime part of this. And I said it like it's super lengthy, but that's not what I meant. I meant to be excited because I really went down a rabbit hole with this stuff because I love it. Not like I love true crime, but you get it. So in the beginning, they say this is based on true events. These two people were in a cabin, yet all of that sort of thing. Okay, that is not a true story of these two people. That's not true.
Okay.
The story was based on 2 to 3. And the reason I say that is because the director verified 2 things that inspired him to do this movie. The Manson family murders. And I'll talk about that in just a sec. And an experience he had as a little kid.
Oh, shit.
So for those who don't know Charles Manson or know a lot about it, the Manson family murders, they killed the LaBiancas, and then the one that inspired him a lot was the killing of Sharon Tate, Roman Polanski's wife, in their home. It happened in 1969. It was Sharon Tate. She was 8.5 months pregnant. Roman Polanski was not home when this happened. They also killed Jay Sebring, who is a hairstylist. I'm going to butcher this name.
In the same house, right?
Yeah. So all 6 of these people were killed.
Okay.
Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, who was a hairstylist, Wojciech Frokowski, is a screenwriter. His girlfriend, Abigail Folgers, who was the Folgers coffee heiress, and then Stephen Parent was the property caretaker who was driving up when they stopped him and killed him. So they were for those of you who don't know, they were all in the house, and 3 members of the Manson family, they didn't write their names, but whatever, they don't need any more publicity, snuck into the house. They tied all of them up. They absolutely butchered them. I mean, the people were stabbed like 58 times. Sharon Tate was tied up. They killed her as well, even though she was pregnant, and wrote pigs all over the wall. Charles Manson had a lot of crazy ideas, and one of them, which was a part of it, was kind of like an overthrow of the government by starting a race war. Wanted to make it think that it was a race war.
That's Helter Skelter, right?
Yep. So that was that killing, and it was just this random butchering. He had told them to absolutely destroy the house. So that was some inspiration into this movie, and that they were just doing it for the thrill of killing. A lot of them were saying that a lot of people say that they had this thrill for just killing, like committing the act, because they stabbed these people 50
so many times.
Like, they just took their time. They wrote, in their blood. So that was one of them.
Jesus Christ. Wait. Before we move on from that, I have questions.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't know. Felicia messaged me earlier today, and it was like, I didn't even know what it had to do with it, anything. But she was like, do you know anything about the Manson murders? And I was like, I know just a little bit. And that's the one that I probably know the most about. But it's still very little. Like, I just know there was a handful of people who went and murdered people, and it's related to Helter Skelter, and they were like culty type people who just went and murdered in the name of whatever they were trying to create.
A race riot.
Right, Helter Skelter, right? So but what I don't understand is, were these people, you may not have the answer to this, but were they people who were like wanting to kill and they just ended up in this group of people because they wanted to, or were they like, because there is an element of like brainwashing and like talking these people into this, like, which is crazy to think that they could go from normal people to this, stabbing people like 58 times. But Do you know kind of what happened there?
Yeah, I think Manson was like, I don't think that these were just people that wanted to kill people. He
Right.
definitely, and that's why he's in prison or was in prison, is because, um,
Well, and they're in prison too. Wasn't it
yeah,
like 3 women and they're all
yeah, what was, yeah. So 3 women and a man, Bill. But that's what he did. Charles Manson, it was like a cult. He just fed, there was these young kids. They did a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
And they were like wanderers, I guess, or these kids that really felt like at home with this community that they created with Charles Manson as their leader. And I remember there was a lot of controversy, like he didn't commit the crimes,
Right.
but he incited them to do it. He told them to do it. He said this is what needs to be happen, both for the Lombiancas, who were high profile rich people as well. So they wanted it to seem like that the attack was on like wealthier, just a, the whole government thing we're talking about. And so he even was saying, this is how you should do it. This is what I want to see, but he didn't actually do it himself. And they did it for him. They fully believed in what he was saying. Two,
Yeah.
if you watch interviews with those girls, it's creepy, eerie. They're smiling. They're talking just like this and da 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 da. Like it's like next level brainwashing on these
Crazy.
kids.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was a side note question, but
No, not at all.
I mean, I know this is like a whole thing. Like, we could have a whole 2-hour discussion on
Charles Manson and the Manson family. Totally. Lots of great documentaries out there. Go watch them. Super interesting. I have a fun tidbit. I used to live in Vacaville, California, and we had a giant prison in our neighborhood called the Vacaville Fundamental Correctional Facility, whatever. Charles Manson was there.
Oh, shit.
It was a facility for people with not mental health, but there was that level of their crime had that kind of level,
like
of
a psychological element.
Yes. Thank you for saving me, Tawny, from that, because I didn't know how to go. All right. So the next thing is an experience that Bertino had as a kid. He recalls being home alone at night at his parents' house, and someone knocked on the door asking for someone who didn't live there. That was that. But what he found out later is that there were people knocking, and the people were going through the neighborhood knocking on the doors, and if no one answered, they robbed the homes.
Oh, shit.
So that inspired him as well.
Okay.
Now, if you've ever Googled this movie and the true story behind this movie, you're going to hear about the 1981 Keddie Cabin murders in Northern California. So Bertino has not come out and said, yes, this inspired his movie. That's why there's but a lot of people say it is too similar for it not to have. So I do have some about that as well. So in 1981, in Keddie, which is a town in Northern California, in the Cabin murders. So Keddie is a population of about 66 people. And this murder is still unsolved. And if you watch BuzzFeed Unsolved, they do a great little, I found that today on YouTube, and they do a great little recap of that. But so Glenna Sue Sharp, her son John Sharp, her daughter Tina Sharp, and her son's friend Dana Wingate. All of them were killed in the evening or early morning, right around there, of April 11th in 1981 in Cabin 28. They were bound and beaten and stabbed. It was very vicious and bloody. It was just a crazy crime scene. Oddly enough, her 2 younger sons, doesn't matter if I had, Rick and Greg, and their friend Justin Smart were asleep in one of the back rooms unharmed. They were killed. The people I said. So Glenna and her son John, her daughter Tina was missing. So her daughter Tina was missing from the premises. So the only bodies in there were the mom, her son, and her son's friend.
Okay.
Then on the 3rd anniversary of the murders in 1984, an anonymous tip called into police, told them where Tina's skull was, which was located in another campsite 50 miles away. And the caller specifically said that it's Tina's skull.
15?
50.
50.
50 miles away. So she also had a 14-year-old daughter, Sheila. She's the one that discovered the bodies. She was spending the night at her friend's house when she got home in the morning and discovered the bodies.
Oh, God.
So I watched the whole thing on it. They still don't know who it was. One of the people they thought it might be was Martin Smart, because he lived in a cabin there with his wife, and they were having marital problems. I guess Glenna Sue, the mom, Glenna Sue Sharp, she had left her husband. He was abusive, and she had gotten away, was living in relative poverty with her children in this cabin. And her friend, the Smarts, his wife, I didn't write down Martin Smart's wife, but they were having some marital issues because he could be abusive as well. And Glenna was kind of, or Sue was coaching her or giving her advice about not staying in that relationship if it's bad. And the fact that his son was unharmed. The fact that the killer didn't even go into the back room where those kids were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some other evidence and stuff too that's really interesting that they've uncovered recently, that a new police chief has come on board. But mainly this killing out in the woods, no one knows who did it. No one knows why. People say that this is very, very similar, and how could it not have inspired that? But
Scary.
Bertino hasn't
said
confirmed.
that.
Yeah.
It does sound very similar. I could see how there would be influences from those other two, right?
Yeah.
But this does seem very spot
Yeah.
on. But it's not to say that, I also think it's possible that he came up with this idea and it just happens to match something that has already happened.
Something else that has already happened. I mean,
yeah,
probably anything that you come up with is unfortunately bound to match something that has really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wanted to look up so bad what the real story was, but I was like, no, I can't. I have to wait.
I remember being disappointed in the sense that they make it sound like this is the case. So I remember the first time I watched it, I thought, okay, how do they know that this happened? Oh, because probably this is what the crime scene looked like. There was probably the ring with the rose petals. That's how they knew. Or how do they know that the killer dragged her? Oh, because she turns over and she scrapes the ground. So my mind was making all these connections like, oh my gosh, this is how they pieced this together. No, those people were not real people that were almost engaged and killed.
It's almost like a mistake, I think, on the movie's part to say that it's based on a true story, because when you Google, because I think I remember doing this when I first saw it too, and I remember finding nothing conclusive, nothing stuck in my mind from when I first watched it when I was 17. So it's, been 10 plus years or whatever. I watched that and thought, oh, this would be interesting to look up, and I looked it up, didn't find anything. Whatever, just totally forgot about it. So the second time I was like, well, fuck, maybe there's something and I just didn't find it, I was like, oh, I just didn't know what it was, but.
I totally agree with you because it's not even loosely based on the Manson murders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, maybe, I guess you could make that stretch. The house kind of looks like Roman Polanski's house where the murders were done, but it and it wasn't a true story. I mean, he was inspired by this experience he had. Yeah. But those people didn't kill people. Maybe if those people were going door to door and killing people in his neighborhood, that's another thing, So I can see why people said, oh, okay, since it's based on a true story, it must be the Keddie Cabin murders.
Right, totally.
Because it's obviously not based on Charles Manson murders. So
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think they should have been, because they legitimately say this is based on a true story. Then they go into these two people, they were engaged, they were here, and they were terrorized. So I'm thinking this really happened. Obviously, no one was there. So they have to make up some stuff.
Right.
But what are the stuff that was real? I was so curious about it.
Case-wise. That's, really good point. Yeah, you didn't consider true crime people watching this movie, dissecting it. Yeah.
I did, yeah. And that was fun. I mean, fun. Well, it already happened. They made a movie about it. So it was fun and interesting, almost like a sleuth trying to figure out, like,
yes.
Oh, what did the real crime scene had that made them make this movie? And the answer is nothing. And that's all I have for you.
This was great to rewatch and talk about.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you're not disappointed that I picked this movie. I was disappointed in the lack of stuff about the movie. I mean, the stuff was so, this movie was not shot in a house. It was on a stone. Okay, great. Like, so what?
Yeah.
There was, or this one, I just have to tell you this. The blonde doll face first makes an appearance asking if Tamara was home. Gemma Ward, who plays this character, also was in Pirates of the Caribbean Stranger Tides as Tamara. That's a coincidence. But,
okay.
I mean, it was nothing like blow your mind. The true crime was the best part of it, but it wasn't even like, the story.
That robust, yeah.
Yeah.
It is sort of like the most interesting thing that I've heard. I mean, like, not to say that any of that wasn't interesting, but the most interesting part is the weird coincidence stranger, like, connections. Like, Steven Tyler being in a band called The Strangers, and she was in a thing, something about the stranger. Like, it's like, what the fuck happened here? That
That's
all
true.
of these, it's not any one on its own, but it's like the fact that there's like 2 or 3 at least, right? Like strangers references.
Yeah, you're right.
Merle Haggard and the Strangers. Like, that's weird. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you're right. I guess you're right. I shouldn't have said it that way. This actress says, is Tamara home? That's the line. Gemma Ward is in Caribbean Stranger Tides as Tamara. You're right. That is kind of...
On its own, it's dumb as fuck. I would never bring that to you. But mixed with the other strangers references, I think it's interesting, Yeah. And you're like, what happened there? Did somebody plan that? If they didn't, that's an amazing coincidence. Thank you.
They couldn't have planned it.
No.
Well, I mean, I definitely don't think they went, let's cast Liv Tyler. And her father, when he was a teenager, was in a band called... No way.
No,
let's
I think...
cast Gemma and make her say Tamara because her name was Tamara. That's insane. Those people have way too much time or doing a lot of acid or something.
I think they shot it. Here's my theory. I think they shot it all, made the movie, and then they were still deciding on a name, and they were like, oh, we're going to go with, X, or like maybe it's The Strangers. And then somebody else was like, oh, you know why that's good? Just with a bunch of random knowledge, like this person just coming out of left field. They're like, you know why that's good though? Is because they are strangers, and the song playing is because Merle Haggard was in a band, right? Called Merle Haggard and the Strangers, and it just so happens that the woman playing Dove, and somebody else was like, fuck yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
we're keeping it.
Better than The Faces.
Way better than The Faces, yeah.
Well, Tawny, what do you think you would rate this movie?
That's a good question, and one that I've been asking myself for days.
I'm going to have to rate it a 5 out of 5 because it's one of my favorites. And the fact that I watched it last night, literally I've seen it so many times, and I was still scared. I didn't scream like I did the first time. The first time, my hands were like entangled in my husband's leg pant. And just like, I was just terrified, but I had that anxious, so I was kind of like, oh my God, we're going to see him. He's going to, oh shit, that was good. So I still felt that joy when watching it. So I give it a 5 out of 5.
Okay. I should have known, because this is the one that you use for your benchmark. Top.
Yeah, this is my top because of just how badly it scared me. I want something to scare me more than that, though.
And you feel like you haven't found that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen movies that I enjoy as much, for sure,
Right.
and I've given those 5.
Just the level of being scared.
Of being terrified, yeah. I think what came close to it is Host, in the sense that I was wrapped up in a blanket, and I realized I was wrapped up in a blanket, and the chick on the actress on the screen was wrapped up, so I felt like it was on the Zoom call. But still, I think the paranormal aspect of it, I don't know, the fact that this it could happen and has in these different, actually every single true crime that I mentioned is very similar. Strangers that you have no idea why, who, what, where, when come in and slaughter everybody and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's real, and it happens, and it has happened. So that levels it up for me big time.
Okay.
Veronica, I was terrified with Veronica as well. But yeah.
What? I feel like I had what I'm having is like an internal conflict right now based on my first viewing time and my second viewing experience. Like, I just feel like they're pretty far apart, but I feel like I had a situation like this before where I was like, oh, the first time I watched it, it was way different, and I judged it on that.
So I think you could go either way, honestly, because if you're thinking about, that's another thing I think about. Like, okay, let me finish my thought. That I've seen it so many times and it still scares me. That's why that's my benchmark.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's movies that I've watched that scare me that I've watched during the podcast that I haven't watched again. So I'm not rating that the same. You know what I mean? I'm not giving that a 5 because I can watch it over and over again. So
right.
I think you could do whatever you feel. If you want to say, I want to knock it because it doesn't have a rewatch value, I think that's legitimate. I mean, maybe.
Okay.
You know. Or if you're like,
you're right.
No,
either way. Or you say, oh, the first time watching this, it's an incredible watch. Because that's what I do. I do feel like the first time you watch this movie, it is shocking. And even the second time I watched it, I will say, like, it stands apart from other movies because it feels refreshing. It's like very different from other movies that I feel like I've seen. Even home invasion, like, it just, I don't know, for some reason it stands apart from the rest of them. But the first time you watch it, it's a totally different experience. And then once you've watched it, I mean, at least for me, everything got seared into my brain. So I knew what to expect the second time. Whereas other movies, sometimes I watch the first time, and then it's like, if I watch it again, I like forgot it entirely, you know?
Yeah.
Which again, I think is a hallmark of a really good movie.
Yeah, you don't remember things that don't make an impact on you.
No. I think I'm going to land at a 3.75.
Okay.
Which is what I gave Little Monsters and The Purge election year.
You really like Little Monsters. You went on and on about that movie. I'm just joking.
Well, and I really liked The Purge election year.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds about right with how I remember you talking about both of those movies.
Yeah. It sounds like it may be a little bit low, and the only reason I'm
it's a C+.
dinging it is because the second watch, like I'm saying, it just was less impactful. But I really like this movie, and I think for sure, if you are a horror lover and you have not seen this movie, you need to watch it now. Like, you need to run out and find this movie and watch it immediately because it's that good.
Yeah.
So that's the, I'm having a hard time between those two. So I think
maybe just don't buy it because you might not want to watch it again.
Right.
Or you might, if you're like me.
Yes. Yeah.
Watch it once a year. Be scared.
So that's where I'm landing. And I feel bad. I feel like
Don't
it's too low.
Don't feel bad. It's totally fine. I still love it.
Okay. I like it too. It's like a really good... There are a lot of... Like I said, there's a lot of redeeming qualities. It could be shit. If the acting was bad and the choices were bad And, you know, like, it would be an awful, awful movie, but it is not. And I was also shocked when you were saying earlier, like, the director and the people involved. When I read the credits, I didn't recognize any names. Like, I've never even heard of this director. I don't know what else he's done.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
when you read the movies that he's done, I'm like, who are these people? And why did they decide to go off and make one horror movie? And that's it? Like, it was surprising to me because it feels so fresh and like these people have really good ideas. And it's like, where have they been? What happened?
Yeah, I agree. Because I think they did the next one too, the Pray at Night one.
Okay. We should watch it just to see.
Yeah, just to see.
I bet it is bad, though. Sequels.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's really good.
Maybe. We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
I hope you're not disappointed in my score. I was so scared.
I'm not. No, I'm not disappointed at all.
Okay.
This was a good conversation. I think we brought up really good stuff. I was excited to talk about the true crime aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
The only other thing I had, which was just my own notes, was this dread that I had. This dread that I had when they lit the car on fire, because for some reason this time around I thought, oh, they're planning to end this soon, this game, because you light a fire out in the middle with all of this darkness, you know.
Somebody's going to come.
Someone's going to come. So they're probably planning to end this soon.
I did not think about that.
What I thought, but I only thought about it this time after watching it so many times.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right, guys, that was, I'm excited. Let us know how you feel. If you don't like it like Tawny didn't, then don't feel shy. You can share. No, I know she liked it. But you can share what you think. We'd love to hear it. And if you love it, please share what you think, because I did too. Next week, we are watching Tawny's favorite movie, Silent Hill.
Silent Hill.
I'm very excited because I've never seen it. And you love it so much. And I mentioned this before, I played the video game for a hot second, but those things that cross the ground, that's all I remember.
Oh, yeah.
They scared me so much I couldn't play the game. So I'm, seriously, I couldn't. I was like, fuck this. Because I'd be walking through this town or whatever. I mean, this was a long time ago. Gosh, I was young when I was playing this game. So it must have been when it came out, you know?
Yeah.
And, I'm walking, and then you hear it when they're close, and I'm like,
yeah.
"Ah, damn, where are they?"
Yes.
And I was like, "I can't do it." I'm so
It's the radio. That's what you're remembering. Is there's a radio that it sets off static when you're close to a monster.
Oh, okay. I thought that was them scraping on the ground, like walking.
I mean, you definitely, for some of them, hear some of that, I think. But yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited
too. I'm just going to make a prediction here, and I'm going to say that I think you're going to love this movie because it has a lot of the elements that I think both of us really, really appreciate.
Okay.
And I don't want to ruin it, so I won't go as far to say anything else. But
because we're talking about it next week.
Yes. I want to do so many disclaimers. I want to be like, well, don't judge it on this, or like, don't judge it on this, but we'll just see. I'll reserve my thoughts.
Because you know me, because even like, I mean, you're like, oh, Felicia's going to hate The Grudge because of this acting but I also really appreciated the scary elements were so good. It really countered the acting.
I think the themes of this movie are what is going to get you in a good way. You're going to love this movie formulated my being. Seriously, it built things, and now I appreciate things that are like Silent Hill in a way that I wouldn't have if I didn't experience that as a kid. Like Jacob's Ladder. Silent Hill like really set a foundational experience for me where now when I watch or experience things that are like Silent Hill, I really enjoy them. So I'm nervous and excited all at the same time. I'm gonna watch this movie like once a day for the next like 7 days. It's gonna be great. And I'm just going to need you to buckle up because I'm going to come in with a lot of research because I'm going to have to give you background on the video game, the director, the actual movie itself, the fucking themes. Like, it's going to be great, and I just need you to buckle in. It's going to be awesome.
All right. I'm excited for it. I'm totally excited. I'm sorry I didn't have a whole lot on this one. There just wasn't a whole lot.
I feel like you had a lot.
Okay, cool. I'm excited for that one. So that's next week. Find us on social media. Engage with us. We would love it. You can find us on any social media platform pretty much. We're very, very active on Instagram, though, and in our Facebook group. That would be the two biggest if you really want to engage with us. We also have a Patreon, and it has for supporting the show and helping us do what we love doing. You get some perks. We have some really great stuff for you, so check it out there. What else, Tawny?
If you like our show and want to support us in a different way, you could definitely give us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. I don't know what the capabilities are on different platforms, but if you're able to do that, do it, because it helps us be rated higher when people search for us or horror movies in general. And also, if you like this and you want to share it with somebody else, you can share it with them. That also helps us spread the horror love a little bit. And yes. I think that's it.
Let them know we're on YouTube too. I had one of my friends reach out, hey, I don't like usually listening to podcasts. I'm like, we're on YouTube.
Yeah. You get to see our faces.
Yeah.
It doesn't change a whole lot. We're just sitting here talking to each other. But
we're sitting here talking. But
there is video.
Like to be a part of the conversation, like they're talking with us.
Yeah.
All right, girl. Wrap this bad boy up.
I'm wrapping up this bad boy with a bow. And we'll see you next week. Happy Bloody Birthday Month. We didn't even say that this time, but it is our birthday month.
Dude, we had such big plans for our birthday month, and it's almost over.
I know. It's scaring me. We're almost done. It's almost there, but...
All right, anyway.
Have a good night. No nightmares.